What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and as we are in October, it is officially spooky season, so it's time for all things undead, terrifying, pumpkins, etc., whether it comes to what you watch on television or what you look forward to throw at your players or pick up for your Dungeons and Dragons game. So that being said, I have a brand new Kickstarter for you today that is just went live 2 hours ago as of me recording this from our good friends at 2C Gaming. Also, a thank you to them for sponsoring this video. So if you're unfamiliar with 2C Gaming, I've covered a bunch of their products in the past, from things like epic levels to cover level 20 plus campaigns, things like monsters to challenge a party that's a little more, that can easily handle or is familiar with things that are contained in the monster manual, or even the option to play as a dragon. So today, they have come out and launched this new Kickstarter here, Grimoire of the Grave, the ultimate 5e guide to undead. And one thing that I will say that I like about what 2C Gaming does a lot, and this book echoes it as well, is that they look at where there are pretty big holes in what exists in 5th edition, and they'll go and make a product to fit or fill that hole. And I've talked about it in the past that I've missed out on how they didn't have any monsters, don't have like agency in the monster manual. They don't tell you kind of how the monster's mannerisms are, how it acts, what it'll do turn by turn in combat, or when it hits a certain threshold. And the Total Party Kill handbook does that. This reminds me a lot of Libris Mortis from D&D 3.5, which was a whole book dedicated just to undead. And I liked that. Wizards of the Coast had done that in the past, where they would make a tome dedicated to a specific type of undead, whether it be aberrations, undead, fiends, or so on. And it's nice to see someone doing the same thing here. And I assume that if this book does well, then the potential for future books covering other types. We already had dragons, we already now have undead. Maybe we'll get something with beasts or, monstrosities or what have you. So you can see it has 31 days left to go. It is about halfway towards its $20,000 goal of funding. And we'll just take a look through here. And there is also a 24-page preview document that I have, but you can also download it for free to check it out. And it covers a handful of different things. So this is Dr. Victoria Wallstone. You can see here she's got some grafted situations and whatnot. She's kind of going to be your guide throughout the book as you make your way through. Also, up front, there is a content warning on here, and it says Grimoire of the Grave includes themes of violence, loss of agency, gore, and other graphic content that may not be suitable for all readers. I think it's pretty apparent in a lot of the art, and I will also say that the art is absolutely fantastic. So if you are a fan of spooky horror style art and things, I think you're definitely going to be a fan of the art in this book. It's some of the best undead art I've seen in quite a while. But also you can see here that they do have a base cover, which kind of is on the left-hand side right here. A limited edition cover, which I really like the look of here. And then Grimoire of the Grave in PDF form. So we already covered kind of what this is, kind of what's inside it. So something that you probably didn't think about, I know I hadn't really thought about in a while, is the ecology, what it means to be undead, how undead act, mannerisms, because not all undead are just mindless zombies. There are ones that have different varying degrees of intelligence and may end up building societies and things of that nature, right? So explore what it means to be undead in a world of fantasy and how that affects the story that your tables tell. Undead character options, right, from player races, to plays one of two unique base classes, the Phantom and the Revenant. We have a variety of new undead creatures, but then also rules, as it says right here, to customize your undead, to kind of beef them up, to change the way they how they're defined, how they act, campaign building resources, and a whole bunch more. Here is the link right here in the middle to download the document. Again, this is what it looks like here. We're going to cover that in just a second. Here's our kind of table of contents, giving you a little bit more of what to expect. And then again, the tiers, right? So $25 will get you the PDF. It's looking to be delivered in October of next year, so about a year from today. Printed PDF, $55. That's not so bad. You get your both there. $150 will get you the deluxe print cover that we talked about. That one is listed for April 2024, though, and I think that's just a limitation. Actually, all of the print versions are listed for April of 2024, and I think that may just be the still continuing ongoing supply chain issues that we have. And there are some additional add-ons here as well. As you can see, some things like pins, a DM screen, and then other 2C gaming products. As far as stretch goals go, at a 40,000 mark, they're going to have this expanded Undead. I think that's supposed to say Cyclopedia. It's a Cyclopdia. But anyway, adding more Undead to the book. 50,000 is something that I would hope that it does reach, though, because the expansion to the art, as I said, the art that I've seen so far is fantastic, and more of it sounds amazing. 60,000 is a new base class, so that's a brand new level 1 to 20 class, and then again, potentially more if the project continues to climb. So let's go ahead and do a quick overview of what you get in this 24-page preview document. Again, it has that graphic warning right up the front. So if we scroll into it, first thing we have here is a morgue. Now, a morgue is a undead creature that I've seen in the past in previous editions, and the art here just, I think, takes this one to another level for sure. So it says, murder of the innocent is a heinous crime. Should a perpetrator manage to evade justice for their crimes in life, they may find an even worse punishment in death. Via divine retribution, the corpse of such a murderer can be contaminated with a necrotic parasite, dredging up their soul from the afterlife and raising them as a morgue. Possessed with a foul hunger for killers and murderers, morgues walk the world in a cursed existence. Lurking with the remains of their once living body is a grotesque purple parasite resembling bloated intestines, kind of like a tongue. From this mass, tendrils snakes their way through the body, basically giving it a semblance of life. And we have a little bit of classifications here. If you're familiar with 2C gaming classifications, that may make some sense to you, right? And it favors, again, kind of pulling stuff from the TPK bestiary there. Favors creatures that are, high constitution, flight, range, bards, rangers, and sorcerers. And it foils healing, people with high hit points, mobility, clerics, monks, and paladins, to get you an idea of where this will stack up depending on what the party you're going to throw at. Another thing that they include in these that I also really enjoy are lore tables, right? This is something we had in the past where if people would make a certain check, all of the different monsters in the various monster books of the past would say, okay, if you make a DC 13 religion check, this is the information you can recall about a morgue. Or DC up to 23, you can learn a little bit more. So here it is. It is a challenge rating 9 creature. Here's the stat block here. Pretty much standard kind of resistances and stuff, but we do have this trait, Vile Parasite. It is granted unlife via a necrotic parasite puppeteering its body. If it's reduced to 0 hit points, but its body remains intact, it is instead reduced to 1 hit point, and the parasite becomes exposed until it finishes a long rest. When the parasite is exposed, it gains 80 temporary HP and has advantage on attack rolls, saving throws, and ability checks against living creatures. So it kind of almost has like a mythic form, kind of video game aspect. You knock it down, it pops up with temporary hit points and gets to go for a little bit longer. It can make claw attacks, and then it has the tongue, right? 68 necrotic damage with a reach of 25 feet. Target must make a con save or be paralyzed for a minute. At the end of each of their turns, they can try to make that save to break it. And then also Infest, which recharges on a 5/6. It infests the target's body with necrotic parasite that feeds on its flesh. The target's hit point maximum is reduced by 10d10 to a minimum of 1. This reduction lasts until the target is slain, finishes a long rest, or receives medical attention from a creature within reach, taking 1 minute to attempt a DC 23 medicine check to remove the reduction on a success. So you can see right there how it's going to shut down high hit points as well as healing and things of that nature. And then the art. This art is fantastic. The original morgue art that I remember is like a skeleton with a purple intestine inside it. This thing, terrifying. All right, so this next bit is about giving subtypes to undead, right? To give you a little more clarification. Since to better catalog the undead, they are organized here into 4 categories: accursed, anomalies, defilers, and hallows. Each one answers key questions about the undead's existence, and kind of what is a little bit about them. So we have accursed, and it lists off a handful of ones here, right? It says ones that have befallen, possibly had a grim fate, committed some sort of great evil. Their souls are mangled and broken, leaving behind angry, bitter beings whose resentment for the living is given form by the nature of their curse. We have anomalies, sort of weird ones that kind of fit out into just basically don't fit anywhere else. Things like the bone claw, shadows, vampiric mists, will-o'-the-wisps. Their existence is as inexplicable as it is terrifying. We scroll down, we have defilers, right? We have ghasts, ghouls, vampires, and so on. Their entire existence requires them to conspire against the living, making them untrustworthy allies at best and insidious enemies at worst. And then we have hollows, kind of again, skeletons, zombies, liches, and so on. Um, these undead are called hallows, for they are the product of artifice and necromancy, ranging from mere zombies to truly indescribable horrors from the darkest nightmares. Uh, hollows are as varied as the minds that animate them. Then this whole section here talks about undead culture. Again, like I said, not all undead this is applicable to. Some are just mindless zombies, but for those who I always liked it. Again, this was another thing that came from that Libris Mortis book. They had a whole thing about undead civilizations like Necropolis and all these other different locations, or various things where you have a society of undead, perhaps ruled over by a vampire or a lich or something. But there was a structure to the society of the way these undead lived. And if we scroll down again, here's some more of the awesome art that I was talking about. This is the front cover art here. But then again, how is the society determined? What is the leadership system, right? Anarchy, oligarchy, so on. And then again, what about the communities? What needs does an undead community have? Again, potentially not food, depending on, or air, or livable space, or shelter. Maybe so, though, depending on the type of undead. What kind of resources are they looking for? What keeps them safe? Are they sensitive to the light, so they need to be found in areas of darkness? What kind of cravings do they have, whether that be human flesh, human blood, souls, whatever the case may be. And then we have evolved undeads, right? This is the concept of taking your undead that exists in any of the tomes you already have, whether that be something like the Monster Manual, something first party from Wizards of the Coast, or from some other great third party creator or DM's Guild author that you like. This provides options to evolve and improve your undead. Now, again, it says specifically that this may take weeks, months, even years for the undead to reach their next evolved potential. But we have a little bit of a table here showing the number of evolutions, what challenge rating they are, and then how that bumps up and adjusts their challenge rating based on their evolution, right? It says, naturally, you should start by selecting an undead you wish to evolve. While evolutions do enhance a creature's features, they do not replace them. Your evolved undead will still function mostly how they always have, now with some spicy new tricks to make them more interesting. Additionally, evolving your undead absolutely increases their power. In most cases, adding just one evolution won't be enough to increase the creature's challenge rating significantly. If you evolve your undead further, it will certainly bump it up. Also says, depending, it might have a save DC in some of the abilities. It's 8 plus the undead's either Constitution or Charisma, whichever is higher, plus the proficiency bonus. Now we have some options here, right? So a defensive evolution to add to your undead. How about Deathly Body? It's held together by powerful necromantic energy and barely registers harm or damage. Any critical hit against the undead becomes a normal hit, and when the undead succeeds on a strength, dex, or con saving throw and would suffer an effect on a success, it can instead choose to suffer no effect, right? That's kind of almost like a super evasion, right? We could give them an aura, sort of like a paladin kind of aura, but an unholy aura here. Whenever a creature within the aura attempts an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, they roll whatever the die size associated with the undead CR and subtracts it from the result. Now here we also have offensive evolutions. Something like Death Touch. At the start of each of the undead's turns, it rolls a number of d4s equal to its proficiency bonus. Each living creature within 5 feet of the undead takes necrotic damage equal to the result. And a living creature that touches the undead for the first time in its turn also takes that damage. Or you might have utility evolutions, right? It's invisible while in dim light or darkness, or maybe once a day as a bonus action. It can grant itself an additional action, similar to an action surge. Again, here's some more fantastic art. It just all looks so good. And then it has Necrybdis, right? This is a massive, almost Titan-style undead creature that comes up from the depths of the ocean. And I'll show you the picture of it. It's almost eldritch horror-ish in its nature. But we also have, what its lair actions are and what kind of regional effects it has in the water. But we actually have the stat block for it here. A challenge rating 21 undead anomaly. A ton of resistances. When it inflicts one or more levels of drain, which is a new condition we'll talk about in a second, it feeds upon the drained creature's strength and magically regains 5d8 hit points. If it takes more than 40 damage for the first time on a turn, its body erupts in necrotic flesh fluid burst in a 15-foot radius. Each creature within that area must make a DC 21 con save or take 46 poison and 46 necrotic damage. It has mythic resistance, right? So if it fails a saving throw, it can expend one of its unspent legendary actions to succeed. And then we have the actual actions, right? Drain strength. Each creature must make a Constitution saving throw or suffer 1 level of strength drain. We'll talk about that. Creature that fails a saving throw by 5 or more suffers 2. We have its maw, right? 5-foot reach. It targets swallowed by it, and then basically you're going to continue to follow swallowed rules where you're going to take damage over time. Spellbreaker attempts to shatter a magic of a spell it can perceive within 60 feet. When it does, it makes a melee weapon attack versus the spell save DC. On a hit, the spell immediately ends. It has its tentacles, which again 60-foot reach, bludgeoning damage. Huge or smaller creatures or vessels are grappled, and it can do up to 10 targets that way. Then we have Vile Torrent, which recharges on a 5/6. If torrent of disgusting bile on a 120-foot linear line, 15 feet wide, each creature in that area must make a dex save or take 10d6 acid damage plus 10d6 necrotic damage. Any creatures swallowed are then regurgitated in the process of breathing this out. And then as far as legendary actions go, we have 3. Move or swim half its speed. Use a tentacle attack. Use 2 to do a drain strength ability, 2 to do a maw ability, or 3 to do a vile torrent. And then here is drain. It says many undead feed upon the living. When undead do so, they inflict a condition called drain, which represents a creature having its vital essence sucked away. It has 4 levels. As you can see here, level 1, when a creature rolls a 16 or higher on an attack roll or ability check using the drained ability, instead rolls a 15. Basically, it goes this way. No, 2 is an 11, becomes a 10. 3 is a 6, becomes a 5. And 4 is a 2, becomes a natural 1. It's not a natural 1, becomes a 1. If the creature suffers from more than 1 levels of drain, suffers an effect that causes drain of an effective ability score, its current level of drain increases by the amount specified in the effect's description. An effect that would remove 1 or more levels of exhaustion, including finishing a long rest, may instead remove an equal number of levels of drain. So this is a pretty awesome little document here. There's a lot to unpack in it, and let's go back and see how we were doing here. Did we get to funding while we were sitting here talking, going through? Let's find out. Scroll up to the top. No, we did not reach fully funding yet, but we're just about right at that halfway mark. So, although it continues to rise. At the top of the video description, as well as a pinned comment, I will have a tracking link for this. So if you go and click via that link and go back to Kickstarter, then the folks over at 2C Gaming will know that the Nerd Immersion family is out here coming in force, picking this stuff up. And then it helps me have further conversations about future contracts and things of that nature. So I do appreciate it if you choose to do so. But if you don't want to do that and just want to, drop a like or something like that here on the channel, that helps out just as much. So a shout out and a thank you to 2C Gaming once again for sponsoring this video. Again, you have 31 days to back this, so plenty of time between now and early November to go and check it out. And hopefully, we get to unlock some more stretch goals to add in some more of that awesome art, but then also to add in other features in general. So I don't know. I really like this book. Again, I will flat out admit that some of this is nostalgia for the books of the past that were dedicated to specific creature types. But, we had Draconomicon, and we kind of had Fizzbands, which is sort of like that. So it's kind of nice to see someone going out and doing this, because I don't think we're anywhere near getting an Undead tome of some kind from WotC anytime soon. So I'm very happy that 2C is out there doing that. So anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, and I will see you all next time.